Part 1. In 1937, Daphne du Maurier's husband, Frederick Browning, a decorated war hero, received a letter from his former fiancée, a woman named Jan Ricardo. The letter was friendly. The woman was beautiful. And Daphne du Maurier burned with a jealousy so corrosive that she sat down and wrote a novel about a dead wife who refuses to leave the house. That novel became Rebecca. It sold nearly 3 million copies in its first year. And it opens with a line that has haunted readers for nearly a century, asterisk, last night I dreamt I went to Manderley again. Asterisk. Imagine you marry a wealthy man. You are young, naive, desperately in love. He takes you to his ancestral home, a sprawling estate on the Cornish coast, where the sea crashes against the cliffs and the rhododendrons grow so thick they seem to bleed. And then you discover that his first wife, the beautiful, brilliant, impossibly perfect Rebecca, still runs the house. Her monogrammed napkins are still in the linen closet. Her bedroom is kept exactly as she left it, the sheets turned down every night, a fresh vase of flowers on the vanity. The servants worship her. The housekeeper, a woman named Mrs. Danvers, speaks of her in a whisper, as if she were a saint. And your husband, Maxim de Winter, will not say her name. You are not a widow. You are not a wife. You are an intruder in your own marriage. Part 2. Daphne du Maurier was born in 1907 into a family of artists. Her father was a famous actor-manager, Gerald du Maurier, and her mother was a stage beauty. But Daphne was never the pretty one. She was the awkward one, the tomboy, the one who wrote stories in secret. She married Frederick Browning in 1932, and on the surface, it was a fairy tale. He was a war hero, a gentleman, a man who called her, my darling girl. But beneath the surface, something was wrong. Browning had been engaged to Jan Ricardo, a glamorous socialite, before he met Daphne. And though the engagement had ended, the ghost of that woman lingered. Daphne wrote about it in her journal. She described her jealousy as a sickness, a poison, that made her feel small and ugly. She imagined Jan Ricardo as everything she was not, confident, elegant, magnetic. And she imagined herself as the pale shadow, the second choice, the one who would always live in the shadow of a woman she had never met. This is the engine that drives Rebecca. It is not a ghost story. There is no specter, no apparition, no creaking door in the night. The haunting is psychological. The dead wife does not appear because she does not need to. She lives in every object, every glance, every unspoken comparison. The new Mrs. de Winter, whose name we never learn, a deliberate, devastating choice by du Maurier, is a woman being erased in real time. She has no name because she has no identity. She is a placeholder. A stand-in. A living woman reduced to a footnote in someone else's story. The famous opening line was written in a single draft. Du Maurier later said it came to her fully formed, like a gift from the subconscious. She wrote the novel in 4 months, locked in a room at her home in Cornwall, while her husband was away. The house she lived in, Manderley, became the model for Manderley. It was a crumbling, ivy-choked estate on the coast, with secret passages and a ghostly atmosphere. She never owned it, she rented it from a family who refused to sell, and she loved it with a desperation that bordered on obsession. She knew, even as she wrote, that one day she would have to leave it. And that knowledge bleeds into every page. Part 3. The plot of Rebecca is deceptively simple. A young woman, working as a paid companion to a vulgar American socialite, meets Maxim de Winter in Monte Carlo. He is older, brooding, haunted by something he will not name. They marry after 2 weeks. She is dazzled. She is terrified. She is in love. When they arrive at Manderley, the estate is overwhelming. The drive winds through a forest of rhododendrons, blood-red, and enormous, like the flowers in a fever dream. The house itself is a labyrinth of rooms, each one a memory of Rebecca. The west wing, where Rebecca lived, is sealed off. But Mrs. Danvers, the housekeeper, holds the keys. And she uses them. Mrs. Danvers is one of the most terrifying characters in literature because she is not a monster. She is a woman in love with a corpse. She speaks of Rebecca with the reverence of a devotee, describing her beauty, her grace, her cruelty. She shows the new Mrs. de Winter Rebecca's bedroom, the silk nightgown laid out on the bed, the silver hairbrush engraved with her initials. She opens the wardrobe and runs her fingers through Rebecca's fur coats. "You wouldn't think she'd been gone so long, would you?" she whispers. "Sometimes I feel she's still here." The new Mrs. de Winter tries to compete. She tries to host a costume ball, hoping to impress her husband. Mrs. Danvers suggests she wear a dress from one of the portraits in the gallery. The girl agrees, thrilled at the idea. She spends hours preparing, dressing in white satin, her hair curled. She descends the staircase, expecting Maxim to be delighted. Instead, he turns pale. He shouts at her. He tells her to go back upstairs and change. The dress was Rebecca's. The portrait was Rebecca's. The new Mrs. de Winter has become, for one night, the ghost she fears. Part 4. The turning point comes in a boathouse on the edge of the sea. A diver discovers the wreck of Rebecca's sailboat, hidden beneath the water for over a year. Inside the cabin, there is a body. Rebecca's body. The official story was that she drowned in a sailing accident, that her body was never found. But now it has been found. And Maxim de Winter's face, when he hears the news, is not grief. It is terror. He confesses to his wife that night. He tells her the truth. Rebecca was not the perfect, radiant woman everyone believed. She was cruel, manipulative, promiscuous. She mocked him. She flaunted her affairs. She told him she was pregnant with another man's child, and she laughed when she said it. And Maxim, the gentle, grieving widower, picked up a gun and shot her in the heart. Then he took her body to the sailboat, scuttled it, and let the sea swallow the evidence. This is the moment the novel subverts itself. Everything the reader believed, that Rebecca was a saint, that Maxim was a victim of grief, that the new Mrs. de Winter was a jealous fool, is overturned. Rebecca was not the victim. She was the predator. And Maxim is a murderer. And yet, and this is the horror, the new Mrs. de Winter is relieved. She is thrilled. Because now she knows that Maxim never loved Rebecca. He hated her. He killed her. And the new Mrs. de Winter, the nameless girl, is finally safe. She has won. This is not a romance. This is a story about how far we will go to be loved, and how willingly we will accept a lie if it makes us feel chosen. Part 5. The consequences unfold like a slow nightmare. There is an inquest, a trial, a moment of almost unbearable tension. Maxim's story, that Rebecca died by accident, that he covered it up in panic, is accepted. He is cleared. The new Mrs. de Winter believes they are free. But Mrs. Danvers knows. She always knew. And she will not let Rebecca go. The final act takes place at night. The new Mrs. de Winter wakes to the sound of footsteps. She follows them through the dark house, down the stairs, into the west wing. And there she finds Mrs. Danvers, standing in Rebecca's bedroom, her face lit by a candle. Mrs. Danvers speaks of Rebecca's death, of the betrayal, of the new wife who has stolen her place. Her voice is calm. Her eyes are mad. She opens the window, points to the sea, and says, "You've nothing to stay for. You've nothing to live for, really, have you?" The new Mrs. de Winter almost jumps. She feels the pull of the void, the seduction of oblivion. But then she hears a sound. A siren. A ship. And then she sees the light. Manderley is burning. The fire consumes the house in hours. The servants flee. Mrs. Danvers disappears into the flames, choosing to die with Rebecca's memory rather than live without it. And Maxim and his second wife drive away, watching the inferno in the rearview mirror. The house collapses. The rhododendrons catch fire. The sea swallows the ash. And the new Mrs. De Winter, finally, has won. But she has won nothing. She has no home. No name. No past. She has a husband who killed his first wife and a life built on a lie. She will spend the rest of her days in a series of anonymous hotel rooms, dreaming of a house that no longer exists. Part 6, 3 Lessons from Rebecca. First, the dead are not dangerous. It is the living who keep them alive. Mrs. Danvers did not love Rebecca. She loved the idea of Rebecca, the power, the beauty, the cruelty. She preserved a corpse because it gave her purpose. And when the corpse was finally buried, she chose to burn with it. Second, jealousy is a story we tell ourselves. The new Mrs. De Winter was not jealous of a woman. She was jealous of a narrative, the perfect wife, the ideal marriage, the life she could never have. She spent the entire novel comparing herself to a fiction. And the tragedy is that the fiction was a lie. Third, you cannot build a life on a secret. Maxim's love for his second wife was born out of guilt and relief. He did not choose her because she was special. He chose her because she was not Rebecca. And that is a foundation made of sand. Part 7, Last night I dreamt I went to Manderley again. That line is not a memory. It is a confession. The narrator has been dreaming of Manderley for years, long after it burned. She cannot let it go. She is still haunted, not by Rebecca, but by the house itself. The house that swallowed her identity. The house that made her a ghost while she was still alive. Daphne du Maurier knew this feeling. She lived in Manderley for over 20 years, knowing she would eventually be forced to leave. She wrote Rebecca as a love letter to a house she could not keep, and as a confession of the jealousy she could not control. She once said, "I think that a woman should be able to write about jealousy, because it is one of the most terrible and powerful of all emotions." And she was right. Rebecca is not a ghost story. It is a story about the ghosts we carry inside us. The woman we fear we are not. The woman we fear we will never be. The memory that refuses to burn. Subscribe for more stories where literature meets life.